What do you do when your own neighbors turn your home into a battlefield over a child's innocent mistake? I'm Marcus Reed, a retired Navy SEAL, trained to face threats most can't imagine. But nothing prepared me for the war that erupted in my own backyard, not from enemies abroad, but from the petty tyranny of my HOA and their so-called community cops. My son, Ethan, only 6, was at the heart of it, and I had the cameras rolling. It started with a soccer ball. Ethan, with his wild curls and gap-toothed grin, kicked it too hard during a game in our front yard. The ball sailed over the fence, landing in Mrs. Callahan's prized rose garden, crushing a few stems. She stormed out, her face redder than her roses, screaming about delinquents and property values. I apologized, offered to replace the plants, but she wasn't having it. She called the HOA's security patrol glorified rent-a-cops with clipboards and egos. By evening, 2 of them stood at my door, demanding I control my kid or face fines. Ethan peeked from behind me, eyes wide, clutching his ball. I kept my cool. Years in war zones teach you to measure your words. He's 6. It was an accident. I'll handle it, I said. They didn't budge, citing violations and threatening to escalate. That's when I noticed their body cameras were off. Convenient. Mine weren't. I'd installed security cams around the house after a break-in last year. The next day, Mrs. Callahan rallied the HOA board. They issued a formal complaint, claiming Ethan's reckless behavior endangered the neighborhood. Ridiculous. But then came the twist I didn't see coming. Jake, my neighbor across the street, a quiet guy who mowed his lawn like clockwork, stepped in. I thought he was just another HOA lackey, but he showed up at my door with a USB drive. "I've got footage too," he said, voice low. "Their cops have been shaking down families for months, fines for toys left out, bikes on driveways. They're pocketing half the money." Jake, it turned out, wasn't just a lawn guy. He was a former private investigator with a knack for digging up dirt. His cameras had caught the HOA's goons intimidating a single mom down the street, threatening her with eviction over a late fee. My blood boiled. Jake's evidence changed everything. I wasn't just fighting for Ethan anymore. This was about every family they'd bullied. I spent nights editing my footage with Jake's, splicing together a damning video. The HOA cops sneering, lying, and turning off their body cams while harassing residents. I uploaded it to the neighborhood's private forum, titled it, "Who's Really Breaking the Rules?" and hit send. By morning, it had spread like wildfire. Neighbors I'd barely spoken to were knocking, sharing their own stories of HOA overreach. A grandmother fined for her grandkids' chalk drawings. A veteran cited for his flagpole being too tall. We weren't just a neighborhood. We were a rebellion. The HOA called an emergency meeting, expecting to slap me with penalties. Instead, I walked in with Jake, a laptop, and a projector. As the board sputtered, I played the video. Gasps filled the room. Mrs. Callahan's face went pale. The cops were fired on the spot, and the board president resigned when Jake revealed he'd traced their fines to an offshore account. The crowd cheered, but I didn't. This wasn't about winning. It was about protecting my son and neighbors from petty tyrants. Back home, Ethan hugged me, asking if he was in trouble. I knelt, looked into his eyes, and said, "You're my hero, kid. You showed me who the real enemies are." I realized then that courage isn't just storming a battlefield. It's standing up for what's right, even when it's your own neighbors pointing fingers. The cameras? They're still rolling, just in case.